Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Brendan Hauser with EVOQ Bike. This is part 2 with Gil. You hopefully saw the $560 bib shorts episode. I won't recap that. I was shocked at the whole video. We first, though, started talking about how he had lost 55 pounds, and the too long didn't watch, setting up a goal. But first, and more important for weight loss, setting up a routine that is going to help you get to your goals. And then some tricks of things he took off his Wahoo and talking about control and not calorie counting. Weight loss is near and dear to my heart. It's how I got into cycling. I had to lose over 30 pounds. I got out of the shower and I was not looking good. So if you need to lose some weight, give this one a listen. Hopefully you get some tips and tricks to help you along with your journey. Good luck with your training and racing. Check out the blog for more free tips, all the other YouTube videos, audio podcasts, etc. If you need help with coaching, a training plan, all that, we have that too. Let's get it. See ya. But let's do the weight loss thing first, because I think we could talk for hours on each of these. But the one question I had asked you was that I think is the most relatable for everybody. What were the 3 things that you did when you finished that ride and you said, okay, am I into this sport? I've lost all this fitness. I've gained all this weight. What were 3 of the things that you would pass on that helped you to even start chipping away at this goal? Like 55 pounds is massive, dude. Just kudos again.
No, it was really crazy. And I think, unlike you, I didn't see myself in the shower and realize that I was heavy. Really, even after this ride, I thought maybe something is wrong with me. So the first thing I've done was actually to schedule a physical exam. And that's when I went on a scale. And once I stepped on that scale and saw 210 pounds, I was like, no way. Literally, I was really shocked. And so I remember getting back home and I went down to my storage room. I picked up my trainer and I set up a bike. That was the first thing that I've done, because I've just realized that there is no way. I felt like I was about to die in a way at this point, I really felt oh my God, I'm so, I became so heavy, old and fat in a way, I can't move, And so I set up the trainer and there wasn't I'm gonna go on this massive plan or anything like that. It was just I'm gonna pedal for an hour. I think it was zone 1, literally. I don't even, literally, it was very, very, very easy. And I thought I'm just gonna start pedaling a little bit to move myself. There wasn't really a fitness goal at this point. The goal was trying not to die. And at the same time, on the food, I decided to be really aggressive. I felt for the past 4 years, I was living on burgers, fries, and pizzas over here in the studio, and I'm gonna cut all of this immediately. So I went pretty aggressive. I need structure with myself, for things to work for me. So I decided I'm gonna have the same menu every day. I'm gonna have a yogurt in the morning. I'm gonna have the same chicken with salad or chicken with rice and hummus every lunch. I'm gonna have the same 1 of 2 dinners every evening, which was either chicken tacos or salmon with potatoes, and that's it. There's not gonna be anything else. And that was already really helpful because it made me feel there's some control, I can control what's happening, and I'm not spending hours thinking, oh, what I'm gonna eat today, etc. I just know that this seems to me something that if I can keep going on, I can just make it in an auto mode and fly with it. And then that was in November of 2023, after I returned from Mallorca. And in December, I traveled to Mexico, which was amazing. It was for a design research project for Rubber and Road. And I was in Oaxaca for about 7 or 10 days. And in Oaxaca, I only had corn to eat, basically. There was nowhere served bread or anything like that. By the time I got back to New York, I felt way better. And I went on the scale and I realized I lost 7 or 8 pounds, which was pretty shocking to me. At this point, I realized that I'm gonna try to go gluten-free completely, 100%. And once I've done that, I felt so much better. I never really realized like how much I was feeling sick constantly before that. And between December and the time I got back to Mallorca to open our pop-up in March, I was down from 210 to around 170 pounds. So that
170?
correct.
Wow.
So that was pretty crazy. I did start training more during this time as well. I started just going on different Zwift programs because I knew I was going to go back to Mallorca in March, and I knew I was going to do the same ride again. And I felt like if I'm not going to PR every segment on this ride, I'm like done. um, yeah. So that was pretty like insane to me, like how fast it moved. But I was riding at this point almost every day, and I was eating, to be honest, like almost nothing in that sense. It was like a yogurt, salad with chicken, and pretty small dinner, maybe one potato and a piece of salmon. But I knew that if I want to be able to like find this hope to come out the other side, I need to be pretty aggressive with myself.
Was that your own just intuition? Did you have guidance from somebody or did you see? Because I think, and I could be totally off base, I think when they do like biggest loser type competitions, I think those diets are pretty aggressive. If I remember reading an article about that. And I don't know if disclaimer, not a nutritionist, not recommending any type of diet, like speak to someone who's a professional if you're going to do this. But what made you feel like, hey, I got to be aggressive with this?
Well, I felt like I needed to see that I can really make improvements to be able to continue to make improvements, if that makes sense. And also, I think that knowing that I'm going to be back in March in Mallorca, I felt like I really need to shed a lot of weight if I want to be comfortable with myself. And also, like I come here every morning because I care about making the lives of athletes better. And I believe in what we do. And we were about to release these new collections that I wanted to ride in too. And I just felt like I really need to challenge myself in a pretty extreme way. And I'm not saying I recommend it to anyone. I wasn't doing massive research on nutrition at this point. I was doing a lot of research on training, for sure. I was watching every vlog on YouTube probably, and reading every blog on the internet. And at the same time, I knew that regardless of like what I'm going to do with my training, which at this point was pretty mild, I wasn't doing much high intensity. I wasn't doing much of that because I knew that I was really pushing myself on the diet, and I didn't want to do anything extreme in terms of the riding, if that makes sense.
Smart, yeah.
So it was mostly zone 2. There were barely intervals. It was mostly like 1 hour to 2 hour rides. And yeah.
I mean, to put a word to it, like you had said in the email, you made a routine. And I think that's huge. Just make this another part of your life. You didn't have to do crazy rides starting back, as you said, do zone 1, zone 2. You're kind of being aggressive with the diet. Do you mind when you were talking about establishing a goal as one of the, when I asked like, what's a word that you would use to describe this? Do you mind if I read part of this email? Because I think it's
Sure. Yeah,
amazing.
of course.
So he was talking about before he went to Mallorca, and he said, Mallorca is not Central Park, and I knew I wouldn't be able to hide myself with just how bad things got over the years. I honestly started asking myself, why do I still care about cycling to make my entire life about it when I'm not even in shape to ride? Am I really still in love with this sport? And if I am, can I get back to form? And I think that question, I made a comment to an athlete, and the reason I want to share this is I told somebody that I have quote unquote quit racing like 7 times over the past 14, 15 years. And they're like, what, dude, you're like obsessed with this. I said, yeah, but there are times when I don't know if this fits in with my life. And where is my life? Something else picks up, or there's another interest, or I got married, and all these other things that life is kind of running down the tracks at some point in time. And then I'm hitting pause to go to these races on the weekends. I'm training. And I think what you said there is so good for other athletes to hear. Like, check in with yourself. Why are you doing this? Do you love this? Do you want to commit time to this? Like, this has to be fun. And you found a goal, you found a routine, and you made it. I love when you said, hey, I don't want to have to wake up and think about what am I eating today. Like, I'm just going to make something that I can do over and over and over again. And yeah, man, kudos for just finding your way through that. It's not easy. And but you know, you did the work too. When you said you're reading blogs, you're watching videos, it's submersing yourself in what you wanted to become. And I just think it's really cool. And share the last thing that you said. What was the third thing? Because this is also super important for people to hear.
The third thing
Do you
that I've done.
remember that you put in that email? What did you take off your data fields on the Wahoo?
Oh, I took off the speed. I think
Why?
that was actually the best thing I've done during this entire
Yes.
process.
Why
It's
did you
still
do
off. It's still off actually. I still don't have my speed on my Wahoo. And I think, I think that every time I tried to get back to cycling, I would
it?
go out and I would see my speeds and I would really get so frustrated with myself and also just try to push myself way too hard in ways that were completely counterproductive. And I don't know like how like this intuition came to life, but like one day I was like, I'm just gonna turn this off. Like I'm just gonna turn this off. I'm just gonna have like literally the only thing on my screen would be the watts and that I need to go at, and that's it. I was like, I don't care about anything else. I don't want to know anything else. I don't want to know how much like anything. Just give me the watts that I need to be at and make the progress there. And I think that was insanely helpful to me.
It's so, I mean, every athlete, even if someone's not trying to lose weight, but most athletes over a time of period, you're going to have an injury and you got to come back from injury. And we always want to compare ourselves to our previous self. We instantly want to be back to where we know we can go. And then we start wondering, am I going to be able to go past that? And having those terrible reminders in your face of you're not as good as you used to be 4 months ago is counterproductive. Then we start training too hard and we don't, you can't go from A to Z instantly. And so when you said that, I love that. It's just you made the comment of you felt like you could then see better progress, have some control, go do the workout that you're supposed to do, and you'll get there eventually. It's just not going to be right away. So I love
Correct.
that.
Correct.
And this whole process, because you had the overuse injury, kind of got you back or started strength training. Is that something that you continue to do, or where do you see strength falling into this whole progress of losing weight and just becoming a better cyclist?
Yeah. So I guess the two second parts that came after Mallorca, or like the first, let's say, base period, is that when I was actually working on the Control 3D bibs shorts towards the end of this process that took years, but towards the last months of prototyping, I got a shoulder tendonitis and I went to see my physiotherapist to help me with my knee injury back in the day. And every time I'd see him, it'd be like, when am I gonna see you back on the bike? When I'm gonna see you back on the bike, right? And so when I started to actually getting back on the bike, I approached him and I started working with him on strength training to kind of prevent myself from falling to the same pits again in terms of the type of injury that I had, etc. And around big thing that happened around March, my business partner said, let's do farmer's daughter together. And at this point, I understood that I have to take my training to the next level, if that makes sense. And strength training for that also became more important because I felt like I was getting fit, but at the same time, I felt really uncomfortable with my form on the bike, just in terms of stability and handling and balance, let's say. And that's where I felt like I needed a lot more help with control. and I started investing even more in the off-bike training, but also I started to raise my volumes like significantly. Actually, like in March, I reactivated Training Peaks again. I decided back then what I thought was like pretty crazy, but I thought, okay, I have 2 months to train for Farmer's Daughter. Let's try it. I got Dylan Johnson's gravel build program, which was like 10 hours a week, which was then like ramping up a little bit.
Yeah.
And that also included quite a bit of strength training, like it became twice a week. And it was super helpful, but I guess I'm mentioning that because I do want to like stress one point is that I really was shocked this time how much my fitness improved really quickly, like probably better than ever in my life. But I was feeling really terrible in terms of how I was on the bike, if that makes sense.
Explain
And
that more. What do you mean by that?
I mean by that descending, I felt like I was like incredibly slow. Gravel technical skills, like routes that I used to do, I don't know, 2016, 2017, some of these descents, like one really frustrated me. It's called Sunken Mine in Cold Spring. It's a gravel descent that I think my times when I was trying to do it like before Farmer's Daughter were almost twice as slow as in 2016 or 17. And that kind of drove me nuts.
Why is that?
I was just really, I think a couple of things. I think that losing the weight so quickly made me feel like I'm bouncing around on the bike like crazy. Like it was really hard for me to learn how to reposition myself, let's say. I think that's part of it. I don't fully know why, by the way. That's just kind of like assumptions. But then I felt like I need more hours on the bike, and that's where I started to, after Farmer's Daughter, I had Vermont Overland as my next goal, and then for that I was doing 15 to 19 hours weeks, just because I felt like I needed a lot more time on the bike to get the feeling back. But what really helped me was actually more in recent months. I was doing a lot more neuromuscular work, and I started cyclocross practices too. And that was really kind of like a game changer. And actually in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I was able to PR my descending times on the Central Park pool, which is like one of them, on the ranger station from River Road, which is the second kind of like longer climb around the city, and the descent to market, which is also like something that I've done for like at least like 12 years. And so that was really, I would say, the most frustrating portion for me, because as much as the fitness improved, I felt like I was just like feeling terrible in how I move on the bike.
That's so
And
interesting.
that took a lot of work, like I was really feeling like every wind will blow me over, like make me really unstable, stuff like that. So I really had to reposition how I'm on the bike, how I'm putting my weight. And I would say I found out that I needed to really like push a lot more of my weight, like literally from almost my core when I'm cornering or moving, relatively to when I was a little heavier, where I needed to shift in a way a lot less weight and I would still stay stable, if that makes sense.
That's so interesting. I never considered how different it would feel after 55 pounds. I mean, you're a totally different person.
Yeah,
And how that feels
kind of
on the
weird.
bike.
It's kind of
Yeah,
weird. I
that
didn't
is wild.
realize that this is gonna be like a thing, but it's
I've never heard somebody talk about this. This is so interesting, but this is a good tip for anybody else going through major weight loss. Wow. Any last thoughts on the weight loss before we shift to these bib shorts? And well, we'll talk about the whole line if you want to, but really the shorts are what have been like the highlight in my eyes. Any
do it,
final thoughts on
do
the
it,
weight loss?
do it.
Do it. Do
Do it.
what? The short?
You need to lose weight. You can do it.
Oh, do it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
You know what? That's I think I will piggyback onto that. I remember, so after I looked in the mirror, I said, okay. And I realized doing the same thing that I was doing was not going to get me to where I wanted to go. And so I took a bike, got my dad's old bike, started riding outside. It became winter. Someone told me to get a trainer. I said, what, you mean a coach? They said, no, dude, get a trainer. You put your bike on, you ride in your basement and just take action. You're not going to know everything. The internet's going to be extremely overwhelming. Just start doing stuff. And like anything, you will pick up tips here and there and you'll make an error. And yeah, I love that. Do it.
Yeah, and I
All
think
right.
I think one thing I will say that might be helpful here. I think for me the most important thing is like I'm not saying don't have goals, but I'm saying put the routine before the goals.
Hmm.
If that makes sense. Like I think
Yeah.
having a routine
Go in
is
on that.
more important than having goals. Like I think that many times I had my goals, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get back to shape. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. Doesn't really work. I feel like the more thing of like, oh, I'm just gonna do this like one thing with nutrition, one thing with training, one thing with this. I'm gonna start it tomorrow or today or now is much better than thinking, oh, I wanna do this event and get this place in like 3 months. That was not really like the motivation of what got me started. You know what I mean? Like that came up after when I was already getting fit and excited about it to get to the next level. But I think that if you're trying to get back, if you're starting, you need to be a lot more modest in terms of like what you're doing. Because for me, it was more like, can I even still pedal?
Right. And I think the routine will help you get to your goals. So like
Correct.
nail that part and then yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.